This chapter addresses the role of green infrastructure in addressing climate change, mitigation, and adaptation. The science is clear. The climate is changing at an accelerating rate due to human activity. To demonstrate, you see a couple of graphs from NOAA showing the trends over the past 30 to 40 years. In the 9 years from 2013 through 2021, rank among the 10 warmest years on record. So here's a quote from the most recent report by the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change. Human activities, principally through the emissions of greenhouse gases, have unequivocally caused global warming, with global surface temperatures reaching 1.1 degrees Celsius above 1850 to 1900 and 2011 to 2020. And we've all seen the impacts of climate change globally and in communities across the country. More severe storms, flooding, heat waves, droughts, wildfire, and more. Now, two complementary approaches are required to address this threat posed by climate change. The first is mitigation, which addresses the cause of climate change, and mitigation is something that requires a global response to which local actions can contribute, as well as adaptation, which addresses the impacts of climate change at the local level. Let's take a look at mitigation. What we need are climate-positive solutions. These are defined as solutions that go beyond net zero, often quoted as current status, to remove or draw down carbon from the atmosphere. Now, green infrastructure, particularly trees, does exactly that. iTree is a tool developed by the U.S. Forest Service that can measure carbon sequestration value of a single tree or an entire urban forest. And the potential impact of this, if scaled up, is demonstrated by a study that found that, now this is at the global scale, increasing the world's forests using available land for that purpose could sequester more than 200 gigatons of carbon maturity, which is equivalent to 25% of current atmospheric carbon. Now, while talking about adaptations, it's important to also note that trees and other green infrastructure contribute to mitigation by reducing heating and cooling costs. In terms of adaptation, we need to implement climate resilient solutions that enable communities to withstand and recover quickly from climate-related disruptions, in which green infrastructure can play a critical role by doing things such as reducing stormwater runoff and flooding, absorbing coastal storm impacts, attenuating the urban heat island effect, and providing cooling during heat waves. It also can be used to capture and store runoff from rainstorms for release during droughts, which is a concept called sponge city in China. So what's the role of green infrastructure in addressing climate change? I would argue that green infrastructure deployed at both the global and local scales is the most powerful tool at our disposal because it addresses both mitigation and adaptation.